What are some
Sure.
common traits you see in student films? And have seen way too many student films in my day, including
So,
my own.
yeah. Well, there is a chapter at the back of the book, Common Traits, and I would say, I think there's about 20 in there. I would say 19 of them I've made myself, and in the mistakes I've made. And the common traits are like bad sound, you know, and even just like bad, bad photography, overexposed, all that kind of stuff. And it's like you don't need the big lighting kit to worry, to sort of solve that. You could just move your actor a foot to the left so they're out of that light or whatever.
Mm.
And and it's just attention to detail a little bit like that on both those fronts. I see 239 widescreen a lot,
When it's shot on
and
an iPhone.
yeah, and it's like I can get that, but you have to come at the aspect ratio from the point of view of the story, I think.
Right.
However, it is. I've recently read an article in American Cinematographer where they said back in like the early 90s, I think there was something like 75% of the films were shot 185
Mm-hmm.
and 25% were shot 239 or something like that. And then now it's the complete opposite. And you get romantic comedies shot 239 and there was a film that I think went to Sundance last year and they literally said we shot 239 because we wanted to add that extra production value. Nothing to do with the story, nothing to do with any sort of narrative.
Right.
It's just we did it because we people do associate it with higher production value. What was the other things like? Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I did as a kid, we wouldn't make stories that were suitable for the age range that we were. So I had like my 16-year-old schoolmates playing police detectives and stuff like that. And unfortunately, it was around the time when Tarantino was quite popular, Reservoir Dogs.
Oh,
So everything
yes.
was suits, everything was swearing, everything was F this.
Blood
I don't know.
everywhere. Right.
Yeah, blood everywhere, pointing and gun down the barrel thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny now where I see even movies now, and I'm like, someone's led on the floor and they put a gun down the barrel, and it's like that was old hat in '91, and
Right.
now you know what I mean. And it's like you need to find a different way of doing that, or holding it on the gun on the side, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a few traits that what's the other one? I suppose getting hung up on kit.
Mm.
I speak to a lot of students, and the first thing out of their mouth is we're shooting on the red,
Yeah.
and
Oh.
or and we're in 4K, and you kind of go, well, what's the story first? Because you can shoot on the red if you want, but if you don't know where to put the camera and you don't get your coverage, it doesn't make any difference whatsoever.
I
But
know.
they think that somehow you're going to say, oh, you're in that league, you're quite established, you must be good if you're shooting on the red. Nothing against red. So it's those sorts of things that you kind of find cropping up. And, I hold my hands up. I made half of those mistakes.
No, no, without question. And I mean, I've done full podcast episodes on gear porn, and and the whole people obsessed with gear. And at the end of the day, like I shot my latest feature, I shot on a pocket camera,
Right.
1080p,
Yeah.
and it worked beautifully, and it looked stunning. And I
Yeah.
didn't shoot a 239, though I could have because it was a very picturesque, thing.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing when you see a student film or an indie film even when they're starting out where you see the 239 aspect ratio and they're in a bedroom. I'm like
Yeah.
there's no reason for
No.
that. Like
Yeah.
if you're out in the desert or when you're in a jungle and there's mountain ranges and it's like this epic
Yeah.
vista,
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. But
Yeah.
when you're shooting against a white wall,
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's the tail wags the dog quite a lot there. And I think, I speak to a lot of DPs and they talk about vintage glass
yeah,
and things like that. And,
love that.
you read interviews with like Roger Deakins and he's talking about shooting on like just on primes, just clear, brand new primes. And he said he doesn't understand the notion of putting vintage lenses on a brand new 4K Alexa. It's like drinking champagne from a polystyrene beaker. You want to get the best image you can. And then if you want to do any effects in post or grade and you want to do anything subtle to the image you can, but you want to start with the best quality. So there's lots of points of view and pros and cons to all of that, but getting hung up on gear is a big thing.